This is the new FX600 from Silverstone, and it has no 80 plus rating, and that is amazing. Alright guys, so as I mentioned, this power supply doesn't have an 80 plus rating. There is no 80 plus rating present on this PSU or many of the documentation. It does not have a rating from the 80 plus organization. And we'll talk about that in a little bit, but first, let's just talk about what exactly I have right here. This is the Silverstone FX600 Platinum Flex ATX power supply. I will say right off the bat, Silverstone did send me this to use for this review, but Silverstone has always been very good about making sure reviewers are honest about their products. I have the FX500 here, and on my review they told me I was being too nice about the noise of the fan, which I later discovered was absolutely true, as the fan was too noisy, and I replaced it with a Noctua 40mm fan, which I don't do. Never replace the fan on a power supply. It's very stupid to do, but so yeah. And on that note, fan noise is going to be a big part of today's review, because I don't doubt the ability of this power supply to deliver 600 watts. It's not really what I care, and I don't doubt the fact that it's a Flex ATX power supply. We'll look at it in a sec. But I do doubt its ability to keep the power supply cool with a fan that isn't obnoxiously loud. I actually had to replace the fan on the other one because it made the build unusable. We'll have to see if this one's any better. Allegedly, it is a more efficient fan as it's a more efficient design. So let's open this thing up and see what comes in the box. Now, this is an early sample. As you can see, I've got version 1.0. So I'm not sure if this is the final unboxing experience, but all I can judge is what I get here. And well, it's not the most elegant thing, but at least it's bubble wrapped. So, onto the power supply. Comes in, well, your standard bubble wrap, because why not? And removing that, oh, right off the bat, I can already see it is using a different fan. I don't have the old fan from my other power supply, but this is definitely not the same one. It actually appears to be thinner than the old one. We've got the same Flex ATX tiny power supply design, and our standard PC cables. Again, Silverstone has stuck to the black cables with their higher end Flex ATX units, as opposed to the ketchup and mustard rainbow crap from the old 350 watts and below. So that's good to see. Now, removing that single cable tie, we've got, you would think this dual 8-pin connector is for graphics cards, but that is incorrect. This is actually your EPS connectors. It is a chain of one unified 8-pin, 12-volt EPS, and a 4+4. I don't know why they are doing that. I get it, this is a 600 watt unit, you could use it with higher end systems, but have never seen an ITX or even a micro ATX motherboard with two 8-pins or even a 4+8 EPS connector. They always have one 8-pins, even the highest end boards. And then if you're rocking an ATX build, or even micro ATX, you're not using a Flex ATX unit. So maybe it's for dual systems that I haven't seen before or something like that, but I don't know why they're doing that. It just seems to add extra cable bulk. Maybe I'm wrong. Silverstone or someone else, let me know in the comments, but I don't see a point of it, and a lot of people doing it recently with these smaller power supplies, and it just seems to add extra cables to an already cramped system. To just address it, the unsleeved cables, I completely understand it, and I'm not against it. They do just tangle a bit too easily, but that's fine. And then we've got our back of our FX600 Platinum here, which looks, well, relatively standard. Now, real quick, I want to compare that to the FX500 of, well, last generation. These PSUs are the exact same size, as they're basically the same thing, but the FX500 is slightly different. First of all, it appears to have, yes, I was right. This is terrible, don't do this. A slightly shorter 24-pin connector, and it is sleeved. Now, I've actually had problems with the sleeving in the past, where it's been a little too thick for my tiny builds. It's a shorter cable. Again, Silverstone. This, on paper, is a great unit. Silverstone, I don't understand it. why are you making the cables longer and adding more bulk? Maybe someone from the small form factor community can, correct me or call me an idiot in the comment section below, but I just don't get why they're adding more cable bulk. It has a short 24 pin and a single unified 8-pin CPU connector that can be split off into 4+4. That's all you need, and it's shorter. I don't understand why they've added more bulk to a tiny power supply. To address it quickly before we put it in a build, right here is where the 80+ rating for a Flex ATX power supply would normally go. For reference, if you look on the Flex ATX, if you look on the FX600, you can see there's an 80+ gold rating. It's 80+ gold power supply, that's where it is. But on the FX600, there's a different symbol there. And that's because the platinum rating that Silverstone touts on this power supply is the Cybernetics platinum rating. But actually, the Cybernetics platinum rating and their whole rating system is more robust than 80+. I will leave a link in the description below to the Cybernetics rating page and all their information so you can see what I'm talking about, but it appears to be an actually even harder rating to get for a power supply, and Silverstone seems to be using it for some of their newer units. It also has a noise rating, which is something I haven't seen with 80+, so it's something to note. Now, this thing does not get a great rating for noise, so hopefully it's actually usable, and if it's not, well, I'll have to figure something out. But hopefully I don't have to replace any fans this time. So, with that out of the way, that's all the technical information and the first looks. Let's build up a quick system. Alright guys, I must say we have a very interesting system for today's build that should stress our power supply enough to see if it's too freaking loud. Starting with our platform and motherboard. We've got an Asus B550i Gaming loaded up with a Ryzen 7 Pro 4750G. That is a 8-core 16-thread Pro Ryzen 4000 CPU with Vega integrated graphics. We've also got an HP GTX 1660 Ti, which is a decent graphics card that will fit in our case as it's very small, and unfortunately I just don't have a more powerful graphics card that fits in this build and that I can afford. Then of course for power supply, we've got our Silverstone FX600 Platinum, Cybernetics Platinum rated power supply, 16 gigabytes of this Excalibur Phantom Gaming DDR4, and for our case, we're going with the, and for our case, we've got the Geek A40. This is a very tiny case that supports a Flex ATX. Oh, probably not in focus, but you get the point. It supports a Flex ATX power supply. So it'll be perfect for our build. So with that in mind, let's get right into it. Get that nice in there. I actually think it has to go, yep, this way, perfect. Oh, that's not good. Oh, shoot. That's really bad. I broke it. I broke the Geek case. Shoot. Damn, that's really bad. Shoot, that broke right off. That really sucks. Can I, darn it. I'll be back. Alright, just installing our graphics card now. I have a makeshift solution to the fact that I just completely broke the entire case, but that's fine. Alright, so we've got a very dense computer here, but it is properly put together, well, for the most part. I did snap off one of the biggest supporting elements of this case. And I almost forgot to put RAM in. What a great job I'm doing. And there we've got it. So let's just put on our side panels. Plug in our HDMI. It's actually interesting. Fun fact. My new testing setup involves passing the signal from this computer or whatever's on my test bench through the capture card on my streaming PC and into where it will then display out the monitor. So that's just something fun to note. So we've got our system all hooked up and plugged in here with keyboard and mouse, of course. Wow, I can't believe I entirely missed this, guys. The power supply has no switch. I'm an idiot. How did I not even notice that? Yeah, so unlike the FX500 of last generation, which had a very visible on-off switch, I can't believe I didn't notice. Really? The FX600 is completely absent that switch. Interesting. Let's turn this thing on. I think this might be the board with the boot delay. Yes. Yes, it is. That is a fan spin. Let's turn this thing around so you guys can see the RAM. So our system does work. Now, the fact that the power supply has no power switch is a little bit, I don't like it that much. I think it really should have one. But there's probably a reason it doesn't, which will, hopefully Silverstone will email me after this and go, hey, that's why it doesn't, you fucking idiot. So, one thing I want to know. The ambient noise in this room is pretty loud, but if we get right up to the power supply, where is it? Right up to the power supply. You hear nothing. The fan is actually off. At least I think it is. Now, assuming I didn't just get a straight up broken power supply, which has happened before, not from Silverstone, but it's happened. Alright guys, running everyone's favorite furry donut and a full IDA64 CPU stress test. This system is loaded to the max and the power supply fan is still off. Yeah, Silverstone, bet you think you're better than me, huh? You know, I tried to play nice. You know, you thought I couldn't build a small form factor system with your Flex ATX unit that could turn on the fan. Well, no more Mr. Nice Guy. I'll show you. I'll show you all. I'll show everyone. With the R9 Fury X. We are no longer playing around here. This is the R9 Fury X, the most inefficient, power-hungry, small form factor graphics card that ever existed. It came stock with a liquid cooler. Silverstone, I'm gonna make your power supply cry. Let's turn this thing on and see how long it takes for that. Now we got a fuzzy donut. Assuming this is actually the fan. Upon further inspection, it appears I may have been very wrong. Okay, it turns out I was actually completely incorrect. The fan was spinning. It was actually behind what looked like another fan, which is, wow, I can't believe I messed that up. So yeah, it actually was spinning, but it was so quiet I could barely hear it. What I touted before as electrical noise was actually the fan spinning, and it was extremely quiet. The fan on this power supply, and again, I really hope I'm not missing it like I did last time, but after that I did correct it, is extremely quiet. Again, while turning on, where's my mic? While booting a system, most power supplies will ramp up to max fan speed very quickly before going down to their true speed, and when booting the system, our fan is relatively quiet. Now, you may forgive me for thinking that sounds like electrical noise, because it really does, but it is a much higher pitch, and it kind of sounds like coil whine compared to a lot of the other stuff in the system. It could very well just be coil whine, but that's what it sounds like at the very least, so that's something to note. And I've actually run into that problem on some other Silverstone power supplies, if I'm going to be completely honest. It could just be the review samples I've been getting. To be fair, I don't have a ton of subs. I probably don't get the top of the barrel review samples, but just something to note that it does have a higher pitch, but it is worlds above the FX500 to the point where I would not replace this fan with an Noctua one, even if it was an option from the factory. The fan is completely fine. I replaced the FX500 because it was unusably loud at some point. So this is a much welcome improvement, and I wholeheartedly can recommend the FX600 Platinum. From what I've seen here, it's a great power supply. I wasn't even expecting it to run this Fury. I guess I didn't have to run my Fury X. That was kind of a stupid thing. But from what I've seen, this is a great unit. And thank you so much, Silverstone, for standing over. And thank you guys so much for watching. You can find links to it in the description below. It's on Amazon and all that and everything else used in this video. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys kind of enjoyed. if you're looking for a small form factor power supply, this one's good for you. I love you guys. I'll see you next one.